like Salem, Oregon is ready for the political revolution. This is a great turnout, and I want to thank all of you for being here. Let me begin by giving you all some pretty good news. Last week we won a really great victory in Indiana. And tonight it appears that we've won a big victory in West Virginia. And with your help, we're going to win in Oregon next week. And I want to take a moment to thank the people of West Virginia for the tremendous victory. I think it ends up being a double-digit victory tonight. And this is a state, West Virginia, where Hillary Clinton won by over 40 points against Barack Obama in 2008. West Virginia is a working-class state, and like many other states in this country, including Oregon, working people are hurting. And what the people of West Virginia said tonight, and I believe the people of Oregon and Kentucky will say next week, is that we need an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. The people of this country are sick and tired of working 2 or 3 jobs. They are tired of working longer hours for lower wages. They are worried to death about the future of their kids. And they do not want to see almost all new wealth and income going to the top 1%. The people of West Virginia, of Kentucky, of Oregon want an economy that works for all of us. They want to have the United States join every other major country and guarantee health care to all people as a right. Infrastructure and create 13 million jobs. And the people of West Virginia and the people of Kentucky and the people of Oregon understand that in the year 2016, we have got to make public colleges and universities tuition free. And at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, where the top 1/10% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. The people of Oregon and Kentucky and West Virginia know that it is high time for the wealthy and large corporations to start paying their fair share of taxes. With our victory tonight in West Virginia, we have now won primaries and caucuses in 19 states. And let me be as clear as I can be, we are in this campaign to win the Democratic nomination. And we are going to fight for every last vote in Oregon, Kentucky, California, the Dakotas. Now, we fully acknowledge, we are good in arithmetic, that we have an uphill climb ahead of us. But we are used to fighting uphill climbs. We have been fighting uphill from the first day of this campaign when people considered us a fringe candidacy. And our message to the Democratic delegates who will be assembling in Philadelphia is, while we may have many disagreements with Secretary Clinton, there is one area we agree, and that is we must defeat Donald Trump. And I am very happy to tell you we will defeat Donald Trump. And if you look over the last month or 6 weeks at every national poll, Bernie Sanders defeats Donald Trump by big numbers. But it is not only national polls where we defeat Trump by bigger numbers than Secretary Clinton. It is state poll after state poll after state poll. Just in the last day, 2 national polls have us beating Trump by bigger margins than Secretary Clinton. 4 statewide polls in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, and New Hampshire. In every one of those polls, we beat Trump or do better against Trump than does Secretary Clinton. But the reason that our campaign is the strongest campaign against Trump is not just the polls. It is that our campaign is generating the energy and the enthusiasm that we need to have a large voter turnout in November. Democrats and progressives win national elections when the voter turnout is high, when millions of people are prepared to stand up and fight back. That is what our campaign is all about. I am very proud to tell you that taking on virtually the entire Democratic establishment, senators and governors and members of Congress and mayors, despite all of that opposition, we have now received well over 45% of the pledged delegates. And if we do well in the coming weeks in Oregon, in California, in New Jersey, in Kentucky, and the other states, we still have that road to victory in winning the majority of pledged delegates. And let me mention something else that doesn't get a lot of attention, but that I am very, very proud of. In virtually every primary and caucus, we win the significant majority of people 45 years of age and younger. Now, the truth is that we are going to work on this. We have to do better with older voters. And we are going to do better with older voters. But when we win in state after state a significant majority of younger voters, what that tells me, and I think it tells the American people, our vision of economic, social, racial, and environmental justice is the future of America. Our vision is the future of America and the future of the Democratic Party. Now, Donald Trump is not going to become president for a number of reasons. And the major reason is that the American people understand that we cannot have a president who has insulted Latinos and Mexicans, who has insulted Muslims, who every day is insulting women in one way or another, who has insulted veterans like John McCain and others, who has insulted African Americans in a very profound way. People sometimes forget that before Mr. Trump was running for president, he was one of the leaders of the so-called birther movement. And that movement was a very ugly effort to delegitimize the presidency of the first African-American president in our history. Mr. Trump will not become president because the American people understand that our strength is in our diversity. That we are a great nation because we are black and white and Latino and Asian American and Native Americans. We are a great nation because we are gay and we are straight. We are a great nation because we are women and men. And our greatness and our strength is when we come together as one proud people. And the American people understand that bringing us together always trumps dividing us up. And the American people understand that we are great when we support each other. When your family is hurting, my family has got to be there for you. And when my family hurts, you have got to help us. America is about not tolerating a situation in which children go hungry or veterans sleep out on the street. And the American people understand that supporting each other always trumps selfishness. And the American people also understand a very profound lesson taught to us by every major religion on earth, whether it is Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, whatever. And that profound message is that at the end of the day, love always trumps hatred. Our campaign has now won primaries and caucuses in 19 states because we are doing something very unusual in American politics. We are treating the American people like intelligent human beings. And we are telling them the truth, even when the truth is unpleasant. I have always believed that it is far more important to deal with unpleasant truths than just to sweep them under the rug. And let me discuss with you some of the truths that we have got to address as Americans. Number one, men and women fought and died to help preserve American democracy. And we owe our veterans a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. And that is why I regard it as appalling that today we have a campaign finance system which is corrupt and undermining American democracy. Democracy is not a complicated idea. It means one person, one vote. You get a vote, you get a vote, and you get a vote. Democracy does not mean billionaires buying elections. Democracy does not mean Wall Street and the wealthiest people in this country contributing massive amounts of money into super PACs. Democracy does not mean Republican governors suppressing the votes. And that is why, together, we are going to overturn this disastrous Supreme Court decision on Citizens United. And why we are going to move toward public funding of elections. I believe passionately in democracy, and what that means is if you are a progressive, a moderate, a conservative, I don't care what your ideology is, you should have the right to run for office without begging millionaires for campaign contributions. I want this country to have the highest rate of voter turnout of any country on earth, not one of the lowest voter turnout rates. But it's not just a corrupt campaign finance system and the super PACs that we have got to deal with. It is the fact that we live in a rigged economy. Now, for fairly obvious reasons, you're not going to see much of this discussion on television. But here are some unpleasant realities that we as a nation are going to have to address, and that is, we have more income and wealth inequality than almost any major country on earth, and it is worse today, that inequality, than at any time since 1928. In America today, and I want you to hear this, because you're not going to see it on TV. You may as well hear it here. And that is the top 1/10 of 1%. 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. In America today, the 20 wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom half of America, 150 million Americans. In America today, one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. One family. And here is what a rigged economy really means. The Waltons own Walmart, the largest private sector company in this country, but they pay their workers wages that are so low that many of their employees are forced to go on food stamps and Medicaid. And you know who pays for those food stamps and Medicaid? You do. It seems to me to be a little bit absurd for working families to have to subsidize the wealthiest family in this country. And I say to the Walton family, and by the way, one of the Waltons made a campaign contribution to Secretary Clinton of hundreds of thousands of dollars. I say to that family, maybe instead of making large campaign contributions to Secretary Clinton, pay your workers a living wage. But we have got to deal with not just a declining and disappearing middle class, not just the fact that we have over 20% of our children living in poverty, not just that we have a corrupt campaign finance system, we also have a broken criminal justice system. There is something very, very wrong in this country when we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. We are spending $80 billion a year to lock up 2.2 million Americans. That has got to change. And one of the reasons that we have so many people in jail is that in many of our inner cities, in many of our rural communities, you have youth unemployment of 30, 40, 50%. White kids, Latino kids, African American kids who have no jobs and have no education. And when you hang out on street corners, bad things happen. And that is why I believe, and if elected president, we will implement investing in our young people in jobs and education. In jobs and education, not jails or incarceration. You know, we have been criticized. Our campaign has been criticized because we think too big. We are too radical. Well, I'll tell you this. Maybe it's a radical idea, maybe it's not. But I want this country to have the best educated population, not more people in jail than any other country. And when we talk about reforming criminal justice, it is also important to deal with local police departments all across this country. Now, I was a mayor of Burlington, Vermont, and we want all of you to come visit us in Vermont. Like Oregon, it is a beautiful state. You'll enjoy it. I was a mayor there for 8 years, and I worked with our police department, not only in Burlington, but throughout our state, and I've worked with police officers throughout this country. Vast majority of police officers are honest and hardworking and have a very difficult job. But when a police officer, like any other public official, breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. We have got to demilitarize local police departments. We have got to make police departments reflect the diversity of the communities they serve. We have got to end corporate ownership of prisons and detention centers. We have got to create a culture in this country which says to police departments, lethal force, killing people, is the last resort, not the first resort. We have got to rethink the so-called war on drugs. In the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received police records for possession of marijuana. And if you're a young person trying to get a job, having that police record is a real serious issue. And that is why I believe that right now, when the Federal Controlled Substance Act lists marijuana as a Schedule I drug right alongside of heroin, that is crazy. And that is why, if elected president, we will take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. When we talk about drugs, let me tell you, we have a major, major crisis in this country in terms of opiate addiction and in terms of heroin addiction and drug abuse, substance abuse. To my mind, the most effective way to treat that crisis, and it is a crisis because people are overdosing every single day and dying, what we have got to do is understand that addiction is a health issue, not a criminal issue. And that is why we need a revolution in mental health treatment in this country. If you are addicted, you should be able to get the help you need today, not 6 months from today. We are also facing a very serious crisis in suicide in this country. And when people are suicidal, or when they are homicidal, and I don't have to tell the people of Oregon about mass killings, we need to make sure that people who have mental crises get the help they need when they need it. This campaign is going to win because we are listening to the American people and not just to wealthy campaign contributors. We are listening to workers who tell me they cannot make it on $8 or $9 an hour. We need to raise the minimum wage nationally, $15 an hour. And when we talk about equitable wages, we are going to make sure that women do not continue to earn 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. And I know that every man here will stand with the women in the fight for pay equity. This campaign is listening to seniors and disabled veterans and the veterans community in general. And what they are telling me is that no senior, no disabled veteran can make it on $10,000, $11,000 a year Social Security. Republicans want to cut Social Security benefits. Well, we have some bad news for them. We're not going to cut Social Security for the elderly and the disabled. We're going to expand Social Security benefits. This campaign is listening to young people. And when we think outside of the box and outside of the status quo, we have to ask ourselves a very simple question. How does it happen that when young people do exactly the right thing and go out and get the best education they can, why do they end up with $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 of debt